Hi, Dave Youngquist, Last Cavalry TV. What I want to talk about today is color and scale, meaning that as a color becomes smaller, let's say on a figure, you do have to lighten the tone. Now, there's a lot of companies that make really great field gray colors, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is how do you paint field gray to make it look realistic, whether you're doing 120 millimeter figures, 90 millimeter figures, or the most popular scale for field gray, which is 1/35. Well, let me tell you how to do it. Number one, there is a great set of colors made by the company Vallejo. It's the model color brand, and they make a field gray, a green gray, and a German uniform color. Now, to look at an original example of a uniform, and by applying this color, you see that it's a very good one-to-one reproduction of the color. What I mean by that is that that color is the same color as this uniform, which is great, except if you're painting in a smaller scale, it's going to appear very, very dark. So you do need to lighten it. How the heck do you do that? Well, I'd recommend using the flat flesh, again, by Vallejo. It'll give it a really nice worn out look. And this color also, by the way, is great for lightening blue and red. You can also use a mix of the green gray by Vallejo to again lighten that color. Now, there's no hard and fast rule on how much you should lighten, but it's just as a rough approximation is that the field gray color that they make really would be one of your darker shadow tones. So again, work up from there. Now, to vary the tone of a uniform, you don't want to necessarily keep the pants and the jacket the exact same color, or the tunic. So I would always mix in some different tones. So maybe the pants are a bit darker on one, the tunic's different on another. Mix them up, that'll give the figures a much more realistic appearance. So by adding a little flesh, you could add a little gray to the color, it'll work. Now, the one color I mentioned that Vallejo makes, which is German uniform, well, it's not even close to an actual German uniform color. But what it is almost a perfect scale copy of is the dark green collar that this uniform doesn't have, but the German army used 1915 World War I tunic, and then also the 1936 tunic, and you could see that color here. Now, another solution to painting field gray is the Andrea field gray paint set. I mean, how great is that? 6 bottles of paint, just about every tone you can imagine. Now, I have found that these colors, again, are very, very accurate to the tunic itself. And my recommendation would be that if you're doing lots and lots of German soldiers, you're doing armor dioramas, this is a must-have set. I really mean it. I use it all the time. And again, these tones can be altered by mixing in grays and flesh tones. Now, I'd like to show you some real examples of some World War II German equipment, just so you can get a better idea of what you're going to be painting. So this is an original World War II German uniform from my personal collection, and I just wanted to point out a couple things that may be of help as you paint your figures. You'll notice that the buttons are also painted field gray, but they're done in a satin finish. And also notice that the eagle is actually a very light field gray, not white like most people attempt. And if you can see the M43 cap, it's a different color of field gray, like I had mentioned before. Vary those tones. This is a World War I Feldmutz German cap, again in field gray, but the tone is different. So vary up your tones. For Last Cavalry TV, this has been Dave Youngquist. Dismissed.